It is very hot. It is a good time to drink a beer, not to go out on the path. But I chose, as usual, an expedition in nature. In this expedition, I will look for prehistoric animal bones, fossilized bones. I'm trying to draw up a map of the borders of the shores of Lake Getic, left after the retreat of the Tethys Sea. One of the elements on which I rely in this attempt is the identification of the swampy areas that were at the edge of the Lake Tethys and in which the animals that came to drink water sometimes remained captive. And here a dead Gryllotalpa, the Latin name, commonly known as the European mole cricket. Here is something that looks like a fossilized bone. That it is. A bone fragment with a very beautiful purple-black color, consistent and well petrified. One more thing that is not bone is just a stone. A small but obvious piece. I'm still looking for the hope is hope. That is what a clean prehistoric bone looks like, bringing in the sunlight of today the sunlight of ancient times. When you hold a fossilized bone in your hand, you hold the time in your hand, the memory, the world, the story of the past. Sometimes I become the same with the animal whose bone I found. Prey or predator, I feel inside me something of the anxiety of those times. Here is a cricket who is drinking water. I told you it was hot. Not only hot, the sun melted and flowed on the earth, as the poet says. Here is a bigger piece, a brown fossil bone. When I'm finding them, it is difficult to give the verdict of a correct identification. Of course, when the bones are whole, it's different. So field work, for me pure passion, must be accompanied by a consistent effort in the laboratory and the library. Another bone. It is a little thinner, but without doubt it is also a petrified bone. I follow the texture, the hardness, the weight, the structure, the color, the traces of time, the location. If the fragment is big enough, it can betray exactly its place in the skeleton, and then we have the easier identification of the animal. Another bone, I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful, but the joy of discovering these fossil bones is great. The sound of the rippling water, the sun and the history of the living world. The rippling of the water kills me because I left without water reserves, and I am thirsty for water, but also I am thirsty to go on. Another one, it is broken in the most common way in which primitive bone tools were prepared. In other circumstances, in other places, maybe I would have dared a theory about hominids, but the shape of this bone I consider to be just a coincidence. Here is a really beautiful bone, but it is not a fossil one. Incredible, luck is luck. As I suspect from the first moment, this is not an ordinary bone, but a fragment of ivory. Mammutus primigenius ivory, or why not, Deinotherium giganteum. I like its color. I think it is the first piece of brown ivory I find. Most encountered were black or predominantly black. You think twice when you find something like that, as if it does not correspond to any known reality. However, I consider this bone to be a piece of mammoth tooth. Very interesting how it has been sliced over time. Another piece of mammoth tooth. Here is how beautiful the exterior enamel looks, the contour of this fragment. But luck is not always luck. Luck also means a lot of work and experience and knowledge. This bone found is just a simple stone which seduced me, which seduced my hope and tried my vigilance. In conclusion, a day with interesting discoveries. It remains to be seen what further information will bring laboratory and library research. The suffocating heat was worth it. The thirst was worth it. The difficulty of walking on rugged terrain was worth it. The weight of the backpack was worth it. The fatigue was worth it. The road expenses were worth it. All these were worth it, even if I couldn't find any fossils. Because the ultimate goal is to find myself. Because when you found yourself, you found the answer to all the questions that grind you and turns you slowly into powder. And all these thoughts, crushed by the mill of existence, will become star dust. And everything we see and everything we do not see and everything we think or imagine in this world and in all possible worlds is star dust. And this dust, it is the dust that builds consciousness and galaxies to the same extent. A wonderful life for all of us.